After the second defeat of Dr. Neo Cortex by the hands of Crash Bandicoot, the world seemed at peace again. However, no one realized that this would lead to the return of a greater evil.
Free at last.
Uka Uka has returned.
Uka Uka is free? No, it cannot be. Evil, great evil has come.
The mastermind behind the Great Cortex conspiracy.
From deep inside my temple prison, I sent you simple instructions to follow. But you lost the gems, you lost the crystals, and I have lost my patience!
Now, with the help of Dr. Neo Cortex and a new doctor who holds the power of time, Dr. N Trophy, Uka Uka is here to doom the world again.
There is still a way for us to amass the power needed to enslave this miserable planet. And this time the great Uka Uka will make sure that you do it right! After many eons, my evil twin, Uka Uka, has been freed from his underground prison. Long ago, I locked him there to protect the world from his malice. Now, free once again, he must be stopped.
But this time, he has something that never came in his way before. A Bandicoot and his other allies. Can the world and now all of time be saved by this alone? It's time to find out. For on this episode of the JayBlast Network, we're taking a look back at Crash Bandicoot 3. Tune in or tune out.
Welcome to the Fantasy Zone.
Get with me.
You're tuning in to the JayBlast Network. Welcome to the next level.
Let's get scratching.
3 things: shift, speed, focus.
Why is that ambulance there?
No. Take it easy. Lift and jump. And turning and smile.
Piece of cake, Captain. Let's do this.
He's training for his biggest adventure yet. Oh yeah, he's ready.
With the success of Crash Bandicoot 2, it was clear that Crash Bandicoot would be a long-running franchise for Sony and Universal Studios. And with that, I could end the intro here and just get right into the main portion of the video. But if you know Crash, you know there was more to this story. For Crash 3 would be the last platforming Crash game created by Naughty Dog. But why was that? Why was it the last if it was so successful? Well, let's talk about the development. You see, Naughty Dog had a 3-game contract with Universal and Sony, which Crash was under. This would be the third game, and while they could renew the contract, they didn't. It was only because Universal wasn't really contributing to the game outside of, the property rights, and thus Naughty Dog didn't want to split the revenue. Upon hearing this betrayal, Universal played the worst card they could: sabotage the project. If they were going to lose the developers, might as well screw them over, right? And I want you to keep in mind, throughout all of this, Universal was still going to make money off of Crash 3. It was still in the contract that they would be paid. Yet they were so petty, they ended up letting all of this mess happen to the developers. They moved the developers into hallways with barely any to no air conditioning. And this is in LA in the summer, having them work 16 to 20-hour days to meet a deadline. It wasn't just the developers suffering from the heat, but the equipment being used to make the game. The equipment would overheat and it would run into different issues. They couldn't even bring air conditioning devices. They had to use other methods just to cool the hardware off, or they would have to hide the air conditioners just to get them in. That level of pettiness was set up to make the project fail, to make the developers suffer. But in the end, Universal lost because Crash 3 would be held as one of the best entries in the series at that point, but also one of the greatest platformers, if not video games, of all time. I guess it was a win for Universal money-wise, but that led to their own downfall when it came to handling the series and the loss of their best developers at the time, Naughty Dog, altogether. As once the game finished, Naughty Dog left that studio and went under Sony for their next games. So before I go over anything gameplay wise, just know all of this was done under this much pressure. They managed to add more content than any other Crash Bandicoot game at that point, more variety than any other Crash Bandicoot at that point, because they decided to make the game take place throughout time, going through different points of history. We weren't just in the mystic jungles anymore or snowy fields. We were going to the Arabian times, the times of pirates, and even the freaking future. And also add on to the lore of their war. And damn it, they just made a damn good game. Hey look, I ain't finna hold you out on the question if it was a good game or not, because it is. But the reason we're here is to see what it had to offer, and was it better than the previous game? Hi, my name is Jay, and you're tuning in to the JayBlast Network as we take a blast of the past to see the games that kicked so much ass that it made those dumb executives mad with Crash Bandicoot 3.
Children, Uka Uka and Cortex plan to use this time-twisting machine to gather crystals that lay scattered across time. I have brought you here to recover the crystals before they do so. To open the time portal, simply stand on a button and then jump into the portal. Good luck.
The Time Twister may seem a bit complicated, but it's the same formula as the last games, except gone are the jungles, snowy mountains, and sewers, and now it's all about time, baby. Starting out with the medieval times, with castles in the background, wizards that want to turn you into a frog, and the dunces and dumbasses running around the map. And the first thing you'll notice is that Crash is much lighter than before. The controller got slightly tweaked again from Crash 2 to make him feel the best he's ever controlled in this original trilogy. Jumps don't feel as risky as before, and all of the moves introduced in the last game return. Another thing you'll notice is that this game is way easier than before. I'm not just talking about the control. You can get almost every box gem in the first set of levels on the first go. What you'll also come to find out is how much variety this game has, especially compared to Crash 2. In the first time room, you run through medieval times, you swim underwater, ride a freaking tiger on the Great Wall of China, get chased down by freaking dinosaurs, and ride a jet ski with pirates attacking you. That was one problem that Crash 2 had. A lot of the levels felt very samey. I mean, most of the different level types were a variation of jungle or snow, or a combination of both. Even the ruins level and river levels were in the damn jungle. And outside of that, you just had the sewers and space. I thought we were traveling around the world. Where are the deserts and cities? I mean, it felt like the first game had a little more variety for its environments. Now this game makes up for that tenfold, and most of the styles are very good. Even the old foot levels are vastly different from each other. Again, you got the medieval times and the prehistoric times. One is just a normal type of level, and the other has you tracking through tar and lava, and again being chased down by a freaking dinosaur. And oh yeah, Coco is playable for some of these vehicle and riding levels, which is cool because she gets to help in the gameplay this time. Just wish she was playable in all levels. If only there was a version of the game that had that, am I right? The only level that I hate here is the underwater levels. Keep in mind, I'm a defender of underwater levels and platformers. I argue most of them really aren't that bad, but these here always feel very clunky to control, and you better hope the tip of Crash's flipper doesn't touch anything, especially when turning, because you're gonna get hit. It just feels too slow, and I know it's supposed to simulate being underwater, but damn, it never seems like you're in a good position if you stand 50 feet away from any obstacle. But 1 out of the 5 being bad is pretty good. Hell, even the boss fights take place in different parts of time. They also talk to you throughout the game as you beat more levels.
Uka Uka and Cortex want Tiny get crystals and bring them to Big Colosseum in Rome. Crash, leave them for Tiny or Crash get crushed.
Yeah, okay buddy, go ahead and sit behind your lines and say that. It doesn't change the fact that you're pretty weak. Yeah, even though this guy was one of the last of the animal bosses in the last game, in this game he's the first, and is only threatening by his lions. Man, aren't you a tiger? Aren't y'all supposed to be fighting for dominance of the jungle or something like that? Why are they doing a better job than you at trying to take me out? But here's another cool thing. Once you beat this dummy, you get a new ability, in this case being the Super Slam, which just gives you a better hit radius to slam and smash boxes. Look, I know this one sounds lame, but trust me, as we go forward, these abilities will get way more substantial. Now, one thing Crash 3 will get is a lot of praise or hate for its variety. There are abundance of gameplay styles in Crash 3 that revolve around the use of vehicles. In fact, there's more levels that take place on vehicles alternative gameplay than the main gameplay style, as the main gameplay style only has 14 out of the 30 levels. However, I think people view this in the wrong way. Instead of grouping them all together, we need to separate them into what you are actually doing in the levels, including the platforming level. Not all of them play the same or have the same objective, so it's not fair to just say, oh, all these vehicle levels are getting in the way of the main platforming. Let's start with the platforming levels though. I already mentioned the medieval times and prehistoric levels, but as you progress through time, you'll run into the Arabian levels and the Egyptian levels. The Arabian levels have you hopping through rooftops, dodging thieves and mercenaries, and these dudes throwing fire at you. These are much more platforming centric compared to the previous two levels, with hang climbs and magic carpets. And they always place these assholes with the swords near the ledges of these sections, so when you come out from a jump, you may get hit by them and lose your underpants. I really get sick of these guys, but these levels are very fun because they test your platforming skills the most, as you try to find ways to dodge all the enemies while trying not to fall off the rooftops. Then there are the Egyptian levels, which mostly take place in the tombs, and they're focused more around the booby traps of them, with tight corridors. They're kind of like an obstacle course, with spikes or crushing traps being the most common form of death in these levels. Also monkeys, but they aren't that threatening. And one level even has you trying to avoid the rising water. That level is Tomb Waiter. I wonder what that's inspired by. So as you can see, even in the traditional Crash levels, there is a lot of variety in the design and gimmicks depending on the time period. While this was a thing from previous Crash games, I feel this game made each type of level around testing Crash's abilities. Medieval is your standard level, gets you used to the gameplay. The prehistoric levels test your speed with the chases. The Arabian levels test your platforming, and the Egyptian levels test how well you're able to dodge all these obstacles and traps. And because they spread out these things per warp area, it feels fresh to go to them, and then putting in the alternative gameplay on the side helps with the variety. Now again, not all the alternative gameplay is great. Now I love the Coco levels, but most of the Crash's levels are boring and trash. The worst ones being the bike levels. Now I want to like these. I really want to like these because the imagery for this game with Crash on the bike is iconic, and of course that awesome render that's a reference to Terminator 2. But man, these things are absolute garbage. It's really the turning and the other vehicles around you. You see, if you mess up once or twice, you pretty much wasted the race. And don't touch other cars either, because good God, this game doesn't know if it wants to slow you down or knock you off the track. And I'm not trying to hit them most of the time. Sometimes I come off a jump and hit them and they come out of nowhere to stop me from getting on a ramp, or these bastards will just turn frame fucking one while you're on the side of them and hit you. And what's really annoying is the way you have to restart it is if you lose, you have to go back to the warp room, then go back into the levels. No quick restart or nothing. And these guys decided to put 4 of these. 4 of these. It's not a bad idea. It just needs some fixing, like maybe better turning or fixing what happens when you collide with another vehicle. And I know it's a damn platformer, but they could have refined this a bit more. And I think that's a problem that some folks can have with Crash's gameplay. There's always a little issue with the control. You see, Crash is so snappy in regular gameplay that it's such a drastic contrast when playing these, and especially the bike and underwater levels show this. Coco, on the other hand, has great controls. Hell, she has the best ride levels in the series, and the jet ski levels are awesome and they control really well and always give some beautiful environments, man. Just look at that water. Now with these levels, Crash moveset also improves as you beat the bosses, with one of my favorite characters appearing in the series, Dingodile.
Good day, mates. Dingo Dial's the name, and Uka Uka and Cortex gave me orders to bring the crystals to them during the Ice Ages. So give me the goods and shove off, or I'll roast yous.
The design, the Aussie accent, and the flamethrower weapon he has just makes him look cool. His boss fight is almost challenging if you don't know how to exploit the spin jump against him and get him before he creates a path. Well, at least escaping is challenging if you do it that way. But hey, at least he's a good sport about it.
You thrashed me, mate. No worries, but you'll soon be up against much worse.
And he wasn't lying, because In Trophy is up next. Now after you beat Dingodile, you get the double jump. And this is where the moveset additions really changed the game. Now you were able to reach areas you wouldn't be able to with a spin jump. They even use it for some enemies like the two-headed giants in the medieval levels. What you'll notice too is that this move would probably further destroy the previous boss fight if you had it, which may seem like coincidence until you fight In Trophy.
Well,
Haven't we gotten far for a pair of fuzzy marsupials? I am Dr. Nefarious Tropy, master of time and creator of the very time twister machine you see before you. Uka Uka and Dr. Cortex have sent me to end this little charade, so you won't be leaving my area with the crystals. I swear it. Now you're on my time, you little skunk! Give me the crystals!
Now, why are you fighting in trophies now and not, let's say, in the Warp Room 4? Well, that's because the dude is blocking off areas of time, as you'll come to find out. He's the mid-game big bad. Now, the way you get to attack in trophy is easy. You just jump on the platforms near him that appear and then hit him. But it's the stuff you gotta dodge beforehand that gets you. Dude shoots out these lasers and laser balls, and if they touch Crash, the dude literally disintegrates. And I'm not talking about laser disintegration. I mean, it's almost as if he's getting erased from time itself. That's hardcore for a Crash Bandicoot boss, as most of them just seem to be dumbass animals, except Dingo Dial. We love him. And no offense to animals, by the way. So you can see why Dingo Dial and In Trophy are so memorable to the fan base. And while I wasn't intimidated by Trophy like most were as kids, I did see him as a genuine threat because he is the master of time. This was he would implement more of that into his boss fight, like trying to freeze you in time or speeding himself up or something. From him, you'll get the triple spin, which is another game changer, allow you to spin for a longer time and acting like a small glide. This would have also helped you a lot in the boss fight before. It's almost as if these bosses are holding back powers really needed to stop them. And in Trophy's case, he was holding you back in time. And once you beat him, you get access to the future.
You insolent, insignificant morons! By defeating Entropy, you have placed us all in grave risk!
Crash, Coco, you must realize that this time twister machine is very delicate. Without Dr. Entropy's constant care and control, who knows what it will do?
All right. The future levels are just levels. I know I hyped them up, but man, these are my favorite levels in the game. When I look back and think about Crash 3, I always think of these levels. Unfortunately, there are only 2 of them in the game, but they make up for it with their length and complexity. These levels put everything to the test, with the addition of both of the future levels making you backtrack for all the boxes. And I know normally people hate it when I have to do that in these games, but since half of the stage is 2D, it's really not that bad. Even the 3D sections don't have you go that far out. These levels can't be beaten the first time, as they either have some secret entrance or a color gem requirement to access even more of the stage, hence why they're so long. But man, I don't care. I just love being in these levels. I mean, look at these places aesthetically. They are the best looking Crash levels. Hell, one of the best looking levels on the PlayStation 1. The giant skyscrapers that show Cortex's influence on time, and the reflection you see on the building in the 2D part of the level is just incredible. It really gives you this sense of getting close to Cortex near the end of the game. I just wish there was more of them. Like, maybe we could have a third one instead of having 4 bike levels. The last type of gameplay is another alternative gameplay style that both Crash and Coco share. These are the plane levels, which take place in World War I and World War II, where you shoot down planes and blimps. While these are a stark departure from the level goal-based design of everything else, hell, even the racing has you racing to an endpoint instead of just laps, I still like these, as it's just airplane dogfights in the sky, which when done well is always fun. Now you have to question, how is In Trophy holding back the future and yet the 1950s slipped out when World War I and World War II didn't slip out? I guess the bikes were too strong. And you know something, even though the exact level difference between the regular Crash gameplay and the alternative gameplay is not even, the types of stage there are is even. There are 10 types of stages, 5 are traditional Crash gameplay and 5 are the alternative gameplay. So there's more balance to the game than you would think on the outside. There's even a boss fight for the alternative gameplay with Dr. Engine returning. Out of nowhere, might I add.
Crash Bandicoot, we meet again. Uka Uka and Dr. Cortex want me to teach you a lesson. Well, I've made a few modifications to my mechanics since our last encounter. So back off or be deleted.
And Coco having to pilot this spaceship to destroy his giant mech. They tried to make this game with both styles in mind, and while there are a couple of hiccups here and there, I think they balanced the styles out well, especially in the Warp Room progression. They made sure not one level of the same type was in the same Warp Room, unlike in the last game, and that variety is truly appreciated. Now, once you beat Engine, you get the Fruit Bazooka, which is a pretty creative way to give Crash a gun or bazooka without pissing off parents or ratings. But also, what you come to find out, besides using it to defeat certain enemies, is that you can use it to blast hard to get boxes or to blast the nitro boxes. Again, they really thought these moves out. Each one takes advantage of a weakness in Crash's moveset, while at the same time as you progress through all the levels, they begin to adapt to your moveset. Now you may say it sucks to have all it come together at the end of the game, but hold off on it a little bit. I promise they covered that too. Now after all the time levels you went to, the last one, the finale of the game, the final level of the main campaign is Bug Light. And it's just an Egyptian level, except now you're in the desert with the Bug Light gimmick that was in the previous game. I don't know, man. Maybe they should have swapped Gone Tomorrow with this level. That's the one issue I have with the end of the game. The final level doesn't really feel final like in the last two games. It just feels like another level that could be placed anywhere. The game, however, makes up for it with the final boss.
I'm sorry. This is the part where I'm supposed to be angry, full of rage, incensed beyond belief. Once again, you have outsmarted and outspun my best henchman. I should be rather upset, shouldn't I?
And in fact, we're furious! But it seems you have overlooked one small detail, you little orange delivery boy. Now that you have gathered all the crystals, all we have to do is take them from you!
Thank God this fight is actually a fight, unlike last time with the jetpack, because man, this is one of the coolest fights in the game. While you don't directly fight Uka Uka, you have to avoid him and Aku Aku fighting each other, while Cortex just kind of barely does things in the background. By the way, I really find it funny how Cortex throughout the game is just out of it. Like, he's just being pulled in because of the threatening mask that controls him, and he just doesn't have the heart for it. No evil smile, no snarky remarks. Hell, the dude kind of starts begging you to give up at a point. It's even funnier when you finally hit him off his ride and you just knock him off into the hole as he sits there. Uka Uka is carrying this fight, so you'll most likely die from the ongoing fight between the two masks instead of Cortex himself. And if you don't know the pattern, they can be pretty hard to dodge. Now, one thing I want to say about Uka Uka that I really like is how they changed the dynamics of the villains using the gameplay. Now you're fighting an evil mask that has the same powers as Aku Aku, and it's kind of scary because we know that Aku Aku at a certain point can give you invincibility. He protects you. And now Cortex has that same mask under his control.
Crash, why must you always muck in my mud? Oh look, I have a mask helping me too. We will find out which one is more powerful soon enough.
It's just that, unlike Crash, Cortex is not motivated to do jack, rabbit, or, and that leads to his downfall.
Defeated again? This is not fair! Maybe I should retire to a nice big beach with a nice big drink and a woman with nice big bags of eyes for my head.
But of course, this is a Crash game.
Not over, Bandicoot. There are still the gems. We still have a chance to triumph.
So it's not really over. But Uka Uka was leaving something out of his revenge speech. When you beat Cortex, you get the running shoes. Now these are not just to get through the levels faster 100%ing them, but to also get the time relics, which you have to speed run the levels for. Now up to this point, the game's been pretty easy when it comes to 100%ing, especially compared to the previous game. Well, that's because the real challenge is speed running these levels. And I mean every level, even the alternative gameplay levels, has a time relic. You need all of the gems and all of the relics to 100% the game. And when you start relic hunting, you'll start to see how all of your moveset is utilized in the older levels. The running shoes will help you run. The triple spin will get you past certain areas where you had to wait, like in the Tomb Waiter stage with the rising water, or the electricity in the future levels in the robots. You can skip past a lot of it fast by using the triple spin and precise jumps and double jumps. You are even encouraged to hit boxes because they freeze your time for a few seconds. To get past these challenges, you'll be finding ways to break these levels, and the devs wanted you to do it. Hell, some some even found more ways to do it. And it's really interesting because you won't really get a triple mask throughout the game, but here it appears more and is outright essential to getting even the basic time relic in some levels. Yeah, there's variations of time relics. There's the gold time relic and the platinum time relic. This whole speedrunning gameplay changes up the whole game and puts everything into perspective. The levels were so easy before because they were training you for this and setting out space for it. Now this stuff sucks for the bike and the swimming levels, with the bike giving more trouble than the others. But the funny thing about these bike levels is to get the regular time relic, you don't even need to win the race. You just need to get close to doing so. So I guess that's a plus. The fruit bazooka doesn't come in handy much, but I still remember using it sometimes. And the super slam, well, I kind of forgot about it because it feels like it's already in your basic moveset. But the rest of the moves were definitely utilized a lot. And as you get all the relics, you'll slowly unlock the secret levels in the secret warp room. Now 2 of these are just alternative starts from levels, while the others are more alternative stages, including another damn bike level where you race UFOs in the pitch black darkness. This level was a pain in the ass to complete no matter how you played. The UFOs are like 10 times worse than the freaking cars, and they'll jerk even faster to the side of the road to knock you off. Plus in the darkness, you have to make sure that you don't fall off any unseen pitfalls, because you will completely lose the race if you mess up even once with these guys. And for some reason, the cop cars that are usually littered across the stage decided on this stage to finally act and start trying to run you off the road. Great, everything's coming at you. In contrast, Ski Crazed is one of the best alternative levels because it uses that awesome jet ski, and even though it's pretty challenging to get around all the obstacles and get all the boxes, it's still a fun time because the jet ski is just so fun to use. And the real last level of the game, Rings of Power, is another plane level that takes place in the desert, and instead of shooting things down, you just have to win a race. Now this is my favorite of plane levels because of the environment with this desert in the background, but again, as one of the last levels of the game, this is a bit of a disappointment and a bit of a weird placement. Now there are 2 secret hidden levels that you have to find in 2 of the levels in the game. One is by hitting the UFO sign and road crash, which kind of makes sense because it's different from all the other signs, and it gives you another jet ski level, Hot Cocoa. Now some people say the Hot Cocoa secret level is hard, but it's really just collecting the boxes around the stage, and you got these checkpoint boxes to help you out. And even the relic of the stage only needs you to hit the nitro box and then go back to the exit, which I got a platinum for barely trying, which a platinum is pretty hard to get, guys. And the last one is Egoporus Rex, which has the dumbest requirement to enter a stage almost ever. You need to take the red gem route in the dynamite stage and then get grabbed by this random pterodactyl that will normally kill you, and there isn't really anything telling you that you need to be caught by this specific pterodactyl. You just need to be caught, and you just get a level where you play as a little dino you can ride in the normal dynamite level where you're just hopping around, and it's a cool bonus. I just wish you got there in a better way. Also, I didn't mention the little dinosaur you get to ride, little Rex. He's pretty cool, but he's only in 1 level, being dynamite, but he doesn't attack anybody, but he's a cool little extra. Now you can't access these stages normally, so anytime you want to retry them, even for the relic, you have to always go to the secret ray. But at the same time, these are also the easiest to get the platinum relic on, which is the highest relic you can receive in a level. And like I said before, they are really hard to get even if you consider yourself a master at the game. This right here is what caused players to just find out ways to speed through the game, because once you did everything, it was just a hassle to understand how to get the platinum relic. And like I said before, 100% in this game is way easier than before. You can 100% many levels before beating the game initially, and even the color gems are given in a good order. In some levels, you only miss the gem that's given by the color gem and not the box gem. They made it easier to access but hard to master with these relics, and that's what makes Crash's gameplay in this game really fun and engaging compared to other platformers. And just keep in mind, games like Sonic Adventure wasn't even out yet when this game came out. They set this sort of ranking system out for Crash before Sonic even had a ranking system. Crash was truly living up to his internal development name of Sonic's ass. Don't think about that too much. Now, there's actually an exclusive gem that you can get if you get all of the gold relics in the game, so you want to get those at the very least. Platinum is just for extra, and of course, some people want to go beyond platinum and do even better than that, which you can do if you're a speed freak at Crash, but I ain't doing all that right now. One thing I almost forgot to mention in the 100% run is the final gem gauntlet. Now, Bug Light is still a bit of a disappointing level for the last level, but it does have a final gauntlet, which you can only access by collecting collecting all of the color gems, and it's a pretty hard gauntlet. You gotta do it all in one run, all on one life, or else you gotta restart the whole thing. So I gotta give props to that. That does have some finality to it, but maybe that should have been a different theme. Like, I don't know, a future stage that led you closer to Cortex's base or something. And when you get all of the relics and gems, except for that gold relic gem, you have to fight Cortex one more time, which hasn't changed much from the last time, and then you get the true ending of the game.
It cannot be! Not a prisoner of time again! Ah!
The time twister machine could not hold itself together. We were lucky to escape.
Give me the mask! With it I shall take over the world! Come on!
It is difficult to say what has happened to our enemies, but I doubt we will see them for a long time.
You know, it's pretty funny, but seeing N Trophy there reminds me of how little he actually appears. Like, bro just got caught up in that last time warp out of nowhere. A fitting end to the trilogy though, considering he took out Uka Uka with Cortex, and we see him actually screwed up this time and not just flying back to the ground to scheme something else, like in the last two games. When Crash 3 came out, it was another success for Crash. PlayStation fans were hyped to see another classic drop. No one knew about the behind the scenes stories though, but when you take them into account, it makes this game more incredible. Because you see, we often get on games that are bad with terrible development cycles, but we never think about how many games that are our favorites that suffered through these terrible conditions. Yes, it happens to them too. The crunch was all around in the industry. Hell, it still happens today. However, it was more than crunch that was affecting Naughty Dog. It was the outright brutal treatment of the developers there. Had Crash 3 been terrible, we would all just chop it up to that development site and leave it at that. I don't say this to glorify developments like this because quite frankly, no matter how the game turns out, I find it quite awful and disgusting the way talent is treated at some of these companies. Thankfully though, we got to see what these guys could do. Shout out to Jason Rubin and Andy Gavin, the founders of Naughty Dog. They describe all these conditions in their book, and there was even an article about it that I put a link to below in the description. These guys and their team helped shape a new gaming icon, even through all the bullshit put in front of them, showing us that we always have to remember that even our favorite games probably went through some extreme hardships with development, and we can't take what we got for granted. At the same time, I think we should really judge a product by its, well, product, as that is what we pay for at the end of the day, no matter how it got there. And luckily, we got something great here. Crash 3 managed to be more expansive than the last game, add more mechanics, and be a new beginning rather than just be a finale to the trilogy. At the same time, no one knew about the internal politics going on in Naughty Dog, and for a moment, it seemed like Crash would just continue like normal, with the next release being Crash Team Racing. But if you know the history of Crash, then you would know that this would be a goodbye to the Naughty Dog Crash platformers forever. And that's why I'm glad they got to go out with a bang. Well, two bangs if you count Crash Team Racing, but that's for another video. But I'm glad they got to go out with a bang instead of a whimper. I used to think that Crash 3 was a little worse than the second game because of its variety. But after playing it again, I realized even with the levels that get on my nerves, the alternative gameplay style really make this game feel fresh as you play through these drastically different environments. Again, this felt like set up to continue the franchise, as why end it here? You got more moves that expand Crash moveset. You got more level types that Crash could be in. So why end it here? I mean, I get it for the PlayStation 1, but what about for the future of the series? Well, as time went on, Naughty Dog would develop their last game with Crash Team Racing, and then they were done. From now on, Crash games would be made by different teams under Universal for a little bit. Hell, it wouldn't even be a PlayStation exclusive anymore. And soon you would eventually see the shortcomings of having Universal take full control of the series. Meanwhile, other platformers hit the PlayStation, with Spyro carrying the latter years of the PlayStation life with its trilogy, and of course, Ape Escape would come through as well. This game though, even though it came out in '98, would still be a big hit in the PlayStation's library, keeping the series in people's minds for the rest of the PS1's life. If you got a PlayStation then and were looking for something like Mario, then you got Crash Bandicoot before the rest of the platforms showed up. And while I think it took time to reach the same fame or same level as Mario, even for a little bit, I think in some ways it surpassed it. Yeah, I'm going there. At least Crash 3 did, compared to Mario 64. And at the time, it became similar to how Sonic was in the early 90s, with Crash 3 being the best. And I fight people on that, not physically, but you know, in debates. And again, it's all thanks to a small team at Naughty Dog who pushed through even the worst conditions to provide a fun challenge to players who pushed through some of their hardest levels in the game. Thank you guys. Real. With that being said, this is the JayBlast Network signing out. And don't forget, stay off the drugs and stay in school, fool. And you better believe, baby, yeah.